Gianluca Ginoble said this before collapsing backstage. The noise from the crowd was thunder, a living ocean of voices chanting his name. Yet somewhere behind the heavy curtain, he stood perfectly still, his heartbeat pounding harder than any drum the band could play. Sweat slid down the side of his neck as he looked at his two brothers in music, Ignazio Boschetto and Piero Barone, both fixing their earpieces, both ready to burst into another night of glory. Gianluca forced a smile, but the world was spinning. He had not slept in 2 days, had barely eaten, and his chest felt tight, a small invisible hand squeezing harder with every breath. The stage manager shouted, "2 minutes," and the roar from outside rose higher. Thousands of lights in the crowd swayed like stars waiting for their constellation to begin. Gianluca took one more deep breath, the kind that hurts, the kind that tells you this breath means something. He leaned toward Ignazio, whispering words that trembled. "Tell them! I just wanted to sing one more time." Then the floor came up fast. The sound that followed wasn't a note or a chord, it was a thud, human and heavy, and everything after that fractured into noise. But that moment, that collapse, had been building for years, long before the spotlight ever touched his face. In a seaside town called Roseto degli Abruzzi, a small boy once sang to the sea. Waves rolled in rhythm with him, seagulls circled above, and an old woman, his grandmother, clapped along, saying he sang like he had lived 1,000 lives. He was quiet, not the type of child who chased attention. He listened to the wind, to the hum of the horizon, to life itself. And when he sang, he didn't mimic, he remembered. That voice, gentle yet ancient, was his secret until one night a local festival invited him to perform. He walked on stage barefoot, holding a microphone too big for his hands, and when he sang, the crowd went silent. The mayor wiped a tear, his mother gasped, and from that evening on, everyone in Roseto spoke of the boy with the old soul's voice. Years later, television found him. 2009, the show Ti lascio una canzone. He was nervous, clutching the mic like it could float him above the fear. When the first notes of Il mare calmo della sera filled the room, the world stopped again. Producers exchanged looks. This wasn't normal. When the final note rang, he didn't just win applause, he awakened destiny. That night he met two others, Piero Barone with the voice of thunder, and Ignazio Boschetto with the smile that broke tension. 3 boys who didn't yet know they'd be brothers. The producers called them Il Volo, the flight, and flight it became. In a few short years, they went from small Italian stages to America, to Latin America, to the Vatican itself. They sang before presidents and popes, their harmony so pure that people wept without understanding the lyrics. But success, like altitude, steals air. Between interviews, rehearsals, endless flights, and hotel rooms that blurred together, Gianluca started to fade. Ignazio could laugh through exhaustion. Piero could power through discipline. But Gianluca felt everything: the pressure, the longing for home, the endless pursuit of perfection. Nights after concerts, he would stare at the ceiling of whatever room he was in, headphones in, replaying recordings, criticizing every breath he took. He told no one how heavy it was becoming. He thought pain was proof of passion. The world adored him, the smile, the charm, the romantic voice, but they didn't see the cost. Sometimes he'd sit by a hotel window, watching lights in a foreign city flicker, thinking of the Adriatic and how the air had smelled back home. "One more tour," he'd whisper, "then I'll rest." But there was always another tour. The South American leg was the hardest, city after city, barely time to breathe. That night in Buenos Aires, the audience was record-breaking. He had felt strange all day, his pulse unsteady, vision unfocused. Yet when the lights dimmed and the music began, he stepped forward. The first line flowed like silk, the second with effort, the third with pain. His lungs burned, but he kept smiling, pushing each note further, feeding on adrenaline and the love pouring from the crowd. When the final song ended, he bowed, heart hammering, and walked off stage into darkness. The cheers thundered behind him. He removed his in-ear monitors, leaned against the wall, whispered to Ignacio the line that would later haunt every headline, and fell. Panic burst. Crew members shouted his name. Medics ran from the wings. Piero froze mid-step. Ignacio dropped to his knees beside him. For a minute that stretched like an hour, Gianluca didn't move. Outside, fans chanted for an encore, not knowing their idol lay unconscious a few meters away. The ambulance lights painted the back door red and blue. Ignacio rode with him, clutching his friend's hand, whispering prayers between breaths. Hospital corridors swallowed them. Doctors spoke in quick Italian, tubes, IVS, monitors beeping. Diagnosis: acute exhaustion, dehydration, stress collapse. His body had simply refused another note. When he woke hours later, the room was quiet except for the heart monitor's steady rhythm. Piero was asleep in a chair. Ignacio sat staring at the floor. "Did we finish the show?" Gianluca croaked, his throat raw. Ignacio looked up, half laughing, half crying. "You scared the life out of us, man." Gianluca closed his eyes again, whispering, "I just wanted them to feel it." Word spread quickly. Social media exploded with prayers and hashtags. Fans outside the hospital held candles, singing softly into the night. From his bed, Gianluca scrolled through thousands of messages. Love, worry, gratitude. One said, "Please don't sing for us if it hurts. We'd rather keep you alive than lose you to the stage." That one stayed in his heart. Days became weeks. Doctors insisted on rest. Reporters waited, speculating, but Il Volo kept silent. For the first time in years, Gianluca was still. He listened again, the rain tapping glass, the slow rhythm of his breathing, and realized how much of life he'd ignored chasing applause. One afternoon, sunlight spilled across the sheets, warm and gold. He saw his reflection in the window, thinner, paler, and whispered, "I forgot how to live." When he was discharged, the trio met privately. No press, no cameras, just three voices, three souls. Ignacio broke the silence first. "Promise you'll take care of yourself." Piero nodded. "We don't need perfect. We need you alive." Gianluca smiled weakly. "I promise." But inside he was changed. On stage again, months later in Rome, he felt the same lights, the same roar. But now it wasn't hunger. It was gratitude. He sang differently, each note careful, tender, like touching something sacred. The audience noticed. His eyes closed longer, his voice cracked in places that made the lyrics feel human. When the final chord faded, he looked out over the crowd and whispered, "Grazie," meaning more than thank you. It meant, "I'm still here." Afterward, he wrote in his journal, "Sometimes life stops you not to punish you, but to remind you of rhythm." He began to balance the sea walks, family dinners, laughter without microphones. Pain had deepened his art. Each performance became prayer. When interviewers asked about that night, he would only say, "It was my lesson in silence." And that silence taught him how to hear again. Yet, even in recovery, memories of the collapse haunted him. The flash of white light, Ignacio's shout, the fading sound of applause as everything went black. He didn't fear it, he respected it. It reminded him that passion is powerful but fragile. Still, music was his blood. He couldn't live without it. He returned to writing, not just singing. His lyrics changed, from love songs to reflections on existence, on time, on fragility. Fans felt the difference. They said his voice now carried truth. And maybe it did, because he no longer sang to impress. He sang to survive. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next part of Gianluca Ginoble's story and all the untold behind-the-scenes moments of your favorite stars. Stay with us. You won't want to miss what happens next.